Going forward, you have this 10-cent temporary increase for Metro fares. You're still struggling with the budget for the next year. It seems, can you just say for certain there will be, that this 10-cent fare will be made permanent, maybe higher fares are coming? What can you kind of forewarn us of what's probably going to happen as you try to balance the budget and take care of a deficit of, nearly $200 million?
Well, Tom, as I said earlier, we have to be honest. And we have to be straightforward. Yes,
I'm calling you on it.
We have a deficit of $190 million in the budget that we're trying to put together. There probably is no way we will be able to close that deficit without a fare increase, and probably a fare increase substantially higher than the 10 cents.
Thank you very much for your call, Howard. Here is Ken in Gaithersburg, Maryland. Ken, you're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Good afternoon, Kojo. Thank you for taking my call. Yeah, I've ridden both the Paris Metro and for many years the New York Metro. I was wondering if anybody has done any kind of a statistical comparison in terms of upkeep and maintenance and what we get for what we pay, comparing D.C., Paris, and New York. And if it has been done, I wonder how we fared.
We will be doing a show on this later on because this same question crossed our minds also now that our system is over 30 years old. How does it compare with other systems that are a lot older in terms of how they manage to do upkeep and maintenance?
Actually, our backlog of maintenance, there was a federal study that was just done on the 7th largest transit systems in the United States. And Metro has the smallest backlog of maintenance compared to many of those much older and much larger systems. Even on a per mile basis, New York has a much larger need than we do. And that's because it's a very old system and needs an awful lot of work. So given the ability to fund the rehabilitation and replacement process, and the fact that it's not really politically attractive, people like cutting ribbons for extensions. It's really hard to cut a ribbon for replacing a piece of track. That tends to be one of the situations that occurs throughout the United States and throughout the world. And when you compare Metro to the other older transit systems, you will find that it is actually doing quite well.
Okay, we'll be doing that show on April 5th. David, you were going to say?
Maybe we need to find some way to have large press events where elected officials get to cut ribbons and get free shovels every time the piece of track is replaced. If I can just mention something about the earlier questions about the budget, and the caller mentioned Paris, which is a great metro system, but generally the Europeans systems spend more resources on their transit, and they're constantly expanding. In fact, transit, the subway in Paris, and the budget that faces Metro right now, which is not about expansion but just about maintaining what we have. A lot of people don't realize that it's very serious. The amount of cost that they're going to be, and unfortunately there will have to be some big fare increases, and there's a great danger of severe service cuts, like no 8-car trains, or not having any yellow line through Columbia Heights and U Street and Petworth, and not even having a yellow line from Alexandria on the weekends, and things of that nature, as well as a lot of bus cuts. And so Metro is going to be making a lot of difficult decisions. But in addition, it's very important that all of the governments in the region support transit and find the way to do everything they possibly can to make sure that we keep the transit that we have at such a good quality. And of course, I think it's of good quality, but it could always be a better quality as well, and just maintaining all that service. For that reason, a bunch of transit groups have been launching a campaign, FareShareForMetro.com, to try to encourage all the local governments to provide resources to Metro, essentially to provide a fair share where the riders are going to be paying more, probably a fair amount more, unfortunately. And so all of the local governments, which is, of course, the resources of all the people in the region, should be contributing to help close this budget
gap. And the federal government should contribute.
Absolutely.
Operating fund.
Which means that in addition to venting at Metro, you can also vent at our local governments so that they can make a greater contribution, unfortunately.